This time we'll have proclamations and awards. We'll ask for Joel Mankin to come up, please. How you doing, sir? Water is our most valuable and important natural resource, playing a vital role in our daily lives. And the water produced by the Leavenworth Water Department is the most reliable and best tasting water in all of Leavenworth County. And a safe, reliable water supply is critical to the success of our community. It creates jobs, attracts industry and investment, and provides for the health and welfare of citizens in ways ranging from disease prevention to fire suppression and the quality of life we enjoy. Each citizen of the city of Leavenworth is called upon to help protect our source water from pollution, to practice responsible water conservation, to get involved in local water issues. Now therefore, I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the city of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim May 5th through 11, 2019 as Leavenworth Drinking Water Week. Thank you, sir. You gotta tell us how good that water is.
Well, it's the best water that can be produced from the Missouri River that you can find.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Miss Wendy Sight, Main Street Representative. All right. Miss Chandra Fairley. Yeah, I gotta do it. Can y'all do it one time? Okay, that's cool. Thank you. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a nonprofit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in local communities throughout the world. Founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 collegiate women at Howard University. The sorority is currently a sisterhood of more than 200,000 predominantly Black college-educated women. The major programs of the sorority are based upon the organization's 5-point programmatic thrust: economic development, physical and mental health, educational development, political and international awareness and involvement. And the Leavenworth Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was started on April the 30th, 1989 to provide quality community services and programming in the Leavenworth area. The mission of Leavenworth Alumni Chapter is to make a difference in the lives of people in the local communities through education, service, scholarship, and social action programs. The charter members displayed great fortitude, vision in establishing this chapter in the Leavenworth community, which provides positive contributions to the people of Leavenworth, Kansas. Now therefore, I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the city of Leavenworth, hereby recognize the sorority's contribution over the past 30 years and do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2019 as the Leavenworth Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Charter Day.
That's great.
That's nice.
You want to speak? Yeah, I have to do it before y'all leave.
Okay. I won't tonight, but thank you, City of Leavenworth, so kindly. This is Leavenworth, a part of Leavenworth Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. It has been a pleasure to serve in this county for 30 years. This April 30th, we've been doing this since 1989, and we are more than happy to accept the proclamation, and we look forward to another 30. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, introduce your sorority sister.
I sure will. Okay, so first and foremost, the reason that we are here And the reason that this proclamation is so important tonight is because of our charter members here. And I would like them to stand. Sora McRoy, Michelle McRoy, and Sora Cheryl Mills, please. These are the torch bearers, and Sora Edith Cotton, Sora Chevelle Lewis Wagstaff, Sora Christina Love, and respectively they are first vice president and second vice president. Sora Lolita Ball, Sora Carolyn Fontaine, Sora Tanya Young, Sora Kayla Hammonds on the end there, Sora Kathleen Cannon, and Sora LaShondra Randolph. I believe I got everybody, didn't I? Okay, so thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Steve Grant, she's playing She Good for. Can y'all do it?
All right, so, all right, let's do it. 1, 2,
3. Parks and Recs. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, and cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim April the 26th, 2019 to be Arbor Day.
Well, I can't top that last performance. But thank you for this Arbor Day proclamation. We will have a tree planting ceremony on Arbor Day, which is this Friday. We will be planting a tree in honor of our former finance director, Dan Williamson. It will be at 2 o'clock at the soccer complex at 14th and New Lawrence Road, there in the parking lot of the soccer complex. So I'd like to invite everybody that can make it to come on out. Thank you.
You already know, Mr. Taylor Tedder. Travel to and within Kansas provides significant economic benefits for the state. It generated more than $11 billion in economic impact in 2017, with $6.8 billion spent directly by travelers. Travel is among the top 10 private sector employers in Kansas. It is supporting 96,037 jobs in 2017, including 64,700 directly in the travel industry and 31,330 plus in other industries. The city of Leavenworth realized approximately $8.5 million from overnight visitor expenditures in 2017 per the Smith Travel Research Report, validating the unique significance of the American travel industry and the lives of the citizens of Leavenworth, Kansas. Now, therefore, I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim May 5th to the 11th, 2019 to be National Travel and Tourism Week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the CVB, Christy Lee, our CVB director, is actually out at a show drumming up business for tourism right now at the Midwest Travel Bloggers Show in Wichita. And as you know, tourism is extremely important to our community and region. Last year, we welcomed over 240,000 visitors to Leavenworth in 2018, and that generated approximately 78,000 room nights. which has an estimated economic impact of over $18 million. So we're very grateful for your support of tourism, and thanks for the proclamation.
Now we will be presenting the Mayor's Award, and I would like to call up Mr. Thomas and the Leavenworth High School Theater Department. The city believes in supporting our youth, and we just want to show our appreciation for your hard work and dedication to our community. City of Leavenworth High School Theater Department is presented the Mayor's Award for Community Service for exceptional contributions to the city of Leavenworth and community through excellence in the arts. The Leavenworth High School Theater Department is nationally recognized and represents the city with honor and distinction. The department's summer camp performances, community engagement, and promotion of theater reflects the best of what Leavenworth has to offer. So we thank you and we appreciate you.
Jermaine, can I get one with this?
Picture of that in there, thank
Ma'am?
you.
Can we get one with Miss Morgan as well?
Okay.
You remember Miss Morgan?
Pave it away.
That's good.
Oh, she did.
Am I on your way?
Go ahead.
Okay. So you guys can just keep looking at the amazing kids.
Good job.
We just wanted to say thank you for your support for the arts, and Faith has something to say as well.
On behalf of the Leavenworth High School Theater Department, we thank you for your endless support and your endless gratitude. We are learning soft skills that are going beyond our auditorium doors, and we're trying to be the best citizens, and theater is trying to build us to be the best citizens. So we thank you very much.
Thank you.
That touched my heart. Miss Stacy McGowan. Stacy McCowan is presented the Mayor's Award for Community Service for exceptional contributions to the city of Leavenworth as a business owner and organizing of an outstanding event. As an outstanding event, Stacy McCowan and the Candle Queen are synonymous with excellence in crafts and quality. The Queen's Romp event has become an iconic event for the city. Ms. McCowan's promotion of Leavenworth and engagement in the community make her a true asset to the city of Leavenworth. April 23rd, 2019, we present you the Mayor's Award. Thank you for your community service.
Jeanette's Snapchatting us too.
Okay. Thank you, Tremaine. And thank you to the city of Leavenworth, because we wouldn't be able to do this without the city of Leavenworth. I'm over here in City Hall all the time, and everybody is always so helpful and helps us do everything. And Chief Kitchens also. So, and also couldn't do it without my employees and my awesome husband. And this will be our 6th year. It'll be Sunday, May 5th at 8 a.m. And we have given over $40,000 to local charities. And this year, it looks like we're going to sell out at 500 runners again, which is over the 6 years we've had probably between 4,000 and 5,000 participants in our 5K. So hope to see you on that Sunday morning, May 5th. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, old business, consideration of previous meeting minutes, minutes from April the 9th, 2019 regular meeting. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes from the April 9th, 2019 regular meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance. Second consideration ordinance 8099, amending chapter 14, amusement and entertainments.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, there have been no changes from the first consideration ordinance reading. As a reminder, the emphasis to start this was a business looking to come into the city of Leavenworth that was looking at doing amusement type arcade games or stuff like that. And we had an old ordinance provision that required $50 per, $40 per piece of equipment per year. So we thought, in the interest of enticing business and making it easier, that we would get rid of that. So there's a couple other changes, but nothing has changed from first consideration. If you have any questions, Carla's here to answer those.
Ms. Williamson, you said you're going to, if this is approved, you're going to refund those amounts for people that paid since the first.
Correct. Anybody who's paid that for the 2019 license, we'll refund those within the next 30 days. We'll get refunds out.
Do you have an idea, ballpark idea, how much? Maybe you just had to grab a guess.
I believe it was like $3,000, around
Okay.
$3,000.
There's no other comments. This requires a roll call. Begin voting with Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
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 Vote passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda, new business. This is open to the public. Anyone who would like to discuss anything that is not on the agenda, we ask that you keep comments between 3 to 5 minutes, please. Yes, ma'am.
I have something.
Okay.
My name is Angela Jennings.
I'll come up to the podium.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Angela Jennings, and I live on Spruce Street. Last few years, I have tried to groom my yard, working overtime at a full-time job, and I noticed that it gets a little overgrown, but I'm also allowed to notice the small tree growth that occurs when that happens. I spoke to Mr. Grant once a couple years ago when I noticed and asked if there was a way we could form a committee to establish new tree growth in the city parks. And then last summer I noticed I have a brome hayfield that grows across the street from my house, and it does not get cut all year. My boyfriend woke me up in the middle of the night and was like, please come look at this. I was like, okay. So about 3:30 in the morning, in the middle of June, I'm standing in the front porch of my house going, what are you looking at? And I look out, and there was about several hundred, if not thousands, of fireflies in the brome hayfield. And as I looked around my neighborhood, I noticed that I saw one here, 2 or 3 here. So I'm here to ask if we can reconsider our mowing season for the city parks and our lengths of grass. Not to jump into anything too prematurely. If we cut too soon or at certain times of the year, we're destroying the natural habitats of our city. So the next point would be back to the tree groves. I think that's going to be the most difficult to accomplish because it's going to mean that the mowers and the gentlemen and ladies in charge of those mowers are going to have to be very delicate and perceive the small tree growth as it comes to light, because it takes a little longer for the trees to start to establish inside the grass. So that first cut, when we make those first cuts every year, we're pretty much eliminating any future potential for a natural grove to establish itself. So that was the most important thing, because it's going to be complicated, like I said, to get these areas and keep them maintained well enough to let that come to fruition. Our trees are old, we mow around them constantly, and we have to worry about replanting. And I think that this would help with future establishment of the parks. Homes too, for those who would be interested in allowing that to get a little taller, take a good look at what your yard's trying to provide you, and then let the nature take its course. I did want to ask also at Hawthorne Park, we have a large field. I thought it would be maybe cool for us to leave a part of that growing wild for the firefly idea. There's a lot of kids out there, baseball games, stuff like that. It would be cool for the kids to be able to check that out. I know we all used to, most of us. So I've spoken to Mr. Grant again, like I said, a few times. He suggested that I approach the commission and the community and ask if we can work towards that this year and in the future. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming up. Does anyone have any comments?
I'm curious how tall you want the grass to get before it's first cut.
Well, right now, a lot of people cut really early. I've even already cut mine. But I have several trees that I've already let establish. They're just now starting to leaf and bud. So like right now, even, is almost too soon for certain areas. Not Hawthorne, but I know we did a lot of brutal cutting down at the Riverfront Park, but it's kind of experimental. Havens is overgrown, so we could almost let Havens be an example park because I don't think it would really get in anybody's way. I think it probably makes sense that we have easements that we have to consider off the roadway, so of course we're going to want to maintain that. But that would be, again, with the Hawthorne Park, it's substantially good size. If we kept away from the roads and allowed that to grow up a little bit and then let the Parks Department come out and take a look, because you'll begin to see the smaller trees maybe already have we not cut. So
you didn't answer my question.
well, that's what I'm trying to understand too.
Because if it gets too tall, you're gonna override our mowers. And I'm not gonna invest more money in different type of mowers
Well, I
to
think
mow that first mowing.
Okay, I think the first idea was to actually go out into the parks before we cut. Because I know you don't want it to get probably taller than this, but you should be able to start to see some beginnings of where those trees are gonna be. A lot of them will blow in, some of them will grow from a mother plant, and some of them will drop around, and that's what I meant about groves. They'll establish themselves. So if we went out and flagged them prior to the cutting season, and then tried to maintain some weeding, and then get another look at it to see, okay, this one is in maybe too much in the shade, or this area is this big instead of only one tree, allow it to. That's what I said, it's gonna be complicated to figure all that out. So that's why he suggested maybe a committee of some sort that would be able to work on a better plan than just letting everything get overgrown.
So you're thinking about like one park, or, it sounds like you're looking at a natural habitat, right?
It is. The VA park would be another one.
Yeah.
Because it's a good size.
Yeah, the VA is more like Havens, where it's already developed there.
Right? And I think that's, like right now, we've probably already mowed the parks this season, maybe even twice already, or real close to it. So I'm saying like right about now, we would be marking trees, or maybe already have that finished and in there trying to weed eat and get a good look or perspective on how to groom it so that it would be naturally growing. And they're gonna be messy at first unless we can come in and maybe throw some wildflowers in to make it not look like tall grass. So this would be right about the time that we would be marking and weed eating versus actually already cutting.
Well, I'd have to know more about logistics and stuff, and, to do anything, but.
I think that in terms of supporting natural habitats, I'm all for that. Got to balance that against, the resources and the manpower that we would need to devote to that effort in terms of it making sense. But I understand where you're coming from, and I think it was great, if you were going to come in front of the commission today, was a good day when we proclaimed National Arbor Day. I know, right? Really good timing. I mean, I think we could devote, it doesn't need to be a long study session or anything, but I would like to discuss this a little bit more. Like I said, I don't think it's a long, but I think it's something we should at least consider, and I like the specificity of some of the things that Ms. Jennings was recommending. She seems to know the subject pretty well, so that's my feedback.
Before we put it on a study session, I'd like to
Let's get some information.
talk to our staff.
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well,
We've been
Could
discussing
you
it.
provide us with some information? Sure. All right, yeah.
right.
So we get some information.
That's fine.
Into it. Did you have any comments?
I understand your passion, Ms. Jennings. I do believe that we don't have a shortage of trees in Leavenworth or in northeast Kansas. In fact, if you look at there is actually a Kansas Forestry Commission, and most people can't believe that aren't from Kansas, but, and you look at all the state record trees, I think all but like 4 of them are in Leavenworth County, in the city of Leavenworth or on Fort Leavenworth. So we have a lot of trees, and the parks, you know, I see Hawthorne Park, a lot of use by kids, and, you know, there's an area where there are trees, and they also need open spaces. There has to be a balance, and I don't, you know, I'd have to hear some more about it, but I don't think we have a shortage of trees. And I know trees will, you know, my yard, you may not like it, but first 2 mowings of the year, I'm probably taking down lots of trees, but I still have thousands left, literally thousands. So I do it, but it's something that I'm interested in hearing what staff reports back to us on. But I understand your passion for it. Thank you.
I do too. I love it. And it's difficult because I have several that I've let grow so far, and I have many. So I understand exactly that. You know, the firefly thing though too, that was really an exceptional sight to see. I was surprised that it was that abundant. Like I said, you know, we all mow our grass, and then I looked out that night and just the difference, the stark difference, thousands of them in this big old field versus this few scattered ones throughout the city. And like I said, we used to catch those as kids. So, and we do have a state record tree. My grandfather had a locust out in the county that was.
Yeah, they're all in Leavenworth County. And
Yep, they sure are.
Fort Leavenworth have them all. I think there's 2 in Atchison County.
Right. So, and that too. So Leavenworth is popular for the Arbor.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
Yes,
you.
and thank you for listening. I've been wanting to address that for a little while now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Open up, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir, you're good.
My name is James Gebhardt. I live in Kensington Place, which is at the bottom of the Wagga Wagga Hill, kind of at the Milas. Been a resident for 30 years, and I'm here tonight, I'll be the curmudgeon, to complain about red light runners. And you'll note on the handout that I provided for you, I've been a motorcyclist for about 50 years, and that makes me, some would say, overly sensitive to intersections, because that's where most motorcyclists get injured when they get hit by a car. If you're on a motorcycle and you get hit by a car, it becomes kind of a moot point who was right and who was wrong. The person on the motorcycle is going to suffer grievously, broken leg, broken head, whatever. So my rabbit trail is to get over to 4th Street to get my wife a coffee daily, and it even happened today. Every day that I go out, I see at least one red light runner at the intersections that I named on this fact sheet. And it's regrettable, because somebody, if it hasn't already happened, somebody's going to get hurt badly in one of these intersections that are controlled by traffic signals that are ignored on a regular basis. And my evidence is only anecdotal. I can't get the data. You guys, I'm sorry to use the word guys, but you folks can get the data by simply asking for it. And my understanding of the data that would be needed would be a map of Leavenworth. You know all your intersections that have traffic control devices. You push stick pins in the map where you have a crash, and there's going to be records for every crash that gets police attention. You pick a time frame, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. You gather that data, you look at it, and you establish where are the hot button intersections and what are the hot button times of the day. And then you focus some enforcement at those places. So I'm requesting that you direct that your law enforcement folks give you or provide you with that information. And then you tell them, okay, I want more enforcement. Asking for voluntary compliance with traffic regulations is not enforcement. That's just letting things happen. And I would like to see more enforcement. And I'll tell you what happened today. I was at the city clerk's desk at 10 minutes to 12, giving her the handouts that I'm providing you. And at 2 minutes to 12, I'm sitting at the intersection of Spruce and 10th in front of the new storage facility. I'm pointing west because I'm going to turn left and go up Wagga Drive Hill.
Spruce and 20th, sir? Spruce and 20th?
20th.
Yeah,
Spruce and
that's
20th.
okay.
No, but this happened at Spruce and 10th at the stoplight.
Okay.
So I'm back up one stoplight.
Okay.
I'm the second vehicle. There's someone to my left and she's going to make a left turn. In front of me is a white pickup truck with a pipe rack and a decal on the door, and I don't know what was on the decal. He stopped at the red light. He's in front of me. He looks both ways, and then he takes off right through the red light. This is an example of what happens here every day in Leavenworth at these key intersections. Nobody's watching. I mean, I'm watching because I'm sitting right there, and I'm only one person for 20 minutes a day, and I'm seeing a red light runner every time I go out. Virtually. Some days, two. I see a guy making a left turn. He's in the intersection when the light turns yellow, so we know he's going to turn. Two people will piggyback on him, go through the red light. What's to do? I mean, you just can't be too careful in these situations. So I'm asking you to direct your law enforcement guys to give you more data and then make a decision about active enforcement, direct enforcement, not just waiting for the crash to happen. Because I'm sure there have been crashes and there will be more crashes. I don't call them accidents. When someone runs a red light in this town, they never do it at the speed limit. They're never slowing down. They're always accelerating because they know they're trying to beat the light. So that's my appeal. And I would like you to take charge of this and make some improvement.
Yes, sir, and we definitely appreciate it. There's been several complaints about that, so we definitely thank you for coming up and addressing the commission.
And, you know, there's more points on here, but
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you for that.
And, we'll turn to our staff to see if they can provide us with some information, and we could possibly.
And
It is a
match the
problem.
number
Yes, it
of
is.
citations issued to the number of crashes. And if you see a big imbalance there, you'll see that there's not much enforcement and there's a lot of crashes. I think that's what it will show.
It
Yes,
is,
yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
it's
You're,
huge.
you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. I have to cross 4th Street down on Shawnee every day.
And you see it.
Every day. I see them run the light every day, and I've complained about it, and we need to, yeah, like you said, get the information.
I can't enforce it except by one thing. If it's a commercial vehicle and it's got a phone number on the door or on the back, I immediately pull off on a side street, stop my car, get my phone out, and I call that number and I say, I want to talk to the boss. And they appreciate that information because if their vehicle with their logo and their phone number on it causes an accident, they're going to pay, and they know that. So that gets their immediate attention. I can't do that with private citizens. I mean, I'm not a law guy.
Yes, sir.
I'm just another citizen. And I'm too old and feeble to be chasing people down and giving them lectures about their driving. Okay.
Hey, thank you, we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Skipper.
He's right.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor Wilson and City Commissioners. My name is Jerry Hansen, and I am the American Legion Commander for Post 23 at Leavenworth. I recently sent you all an email requesting stuff after meeting with the Park Board and Mr. Grant and the outstanding board that you have over there. Real receptive, I want to tell you that. Requesting a few things for our Legion Baseball program, which is a children and youth program. And this year, just to let you know, besides our 2 Legion baseball teams, we've had 3 high school kids sign up for Get That Law. Your police chief and our Leavenworth County Sheriff both donated money to cover the cost of 2 of the kids. And my sergeant major up at the Command and General Staff College covered for our 3rd one. And along with that, we've had 30 high school kids sign up for Boys State, which teaches them about what you guys do, functions of that state government where they get to elect officials. And with that, we've had a great impact on children and youth for the American Legion's sponsored programs. But I'm here just representing baseball and asking for your guys' consideration to help the Legion out in our baseball program by giving us some extra time at Sportsville to warm our teams up by an extra half hour. I know it costs money, and the Legion's offered to even help cover the cost of the overtime that it would take for that extra half hour. I'm not saying we're not a wealthy entity as a nonprofit organization, but we are asking that. We're also asking for eventually to have overhead protective cover at Sportsville to keep somebody from getting hit in the head and hurt. Another thing that we're asking for is out at Eagles Field where we're at, to have the fence line on the south side across the street from them houses to be extended so that the baseballs, that when they get flying and loose, can eventually damage somebody's property. If we have that fence, we could stop that from happening and have a little barrier there. We're not asking for everything for this year. This year, what we're asking for is the opening of Sportsville by an extra half hour. And we're also asking that you look and consider dedicating Eagles Field as a priority field for the Legion. And that we're also asking that the practice time at Eagles Field be, the fee be waived so that it won't impact our funding from the Legion, because with these 30 boy staters, it's practically wiped my budget out that we have. We're also going to be eventually asking for pitcher's mound to be increased at the Eagles Field and the backstop raised up a little bit. Not expecting anything overnight, not expecting it all done. I expect a 3 to 4 year program where we can fund a little things at a time. The 2 things for this year, mostly, that half hour at Sportsfield and the funding fee waive for practice at Eagles Field. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I do. This is about Eagles Field. Why do we have all these signs? I mean, we have to pay to keep these places nice, right? Why do we have all of these no parking signs there, and there are people parked in between those no parking signs on the grass and right on the edge of the street there where it's been a new street that was put in and there's a ditch there and it's already breaking the street down. I don't see why we would waive the fees if we've got to pay to fix this stuff. That's my own opinion here. But I don't like to see people come in and disobey our laws by parking in an area where there are no parking signs. When there is a lot right down below, I just don't see it. Just don't see it.
Is this the team that practice this park there? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But it's just about anybody that comes over there now. I mean, if one person parks in there, the rest of them park there.
Very true, Mayor Wilson. People do park there along the road.
Between the signs that say no parking,
Yes.
right there.
But also at this rate, Commissioner Bowder. So what you're wanting people to do is go park on private property. Remember, that parking lot you're talking there belongs to a private entity called the Eagles. Technically, you would have to have their permission to park there. It's not a public parking lot. So what I'm asking you then, is the city willing to put a public parking lot somewhere out there?
Is that correct, Mr. Grant? Or is part of that parking lot for the city? At the Eagles?
I believe the parking lot is theirs. I'm not 100% sure on that. I wasn't.
So what is the point in having the no parking signs if people are parking in between and not paying attention to that? Because I do see some people parking down in the lot. And then the rest of them are all parked right there next to the field and the grass and the ditch and the other day there was one parked clear across the street, almost blocking the street. Just wondered.
My assumption is, and I believe that's 21st Street, right, that we're
Yes.
talking about. My assumption is that they're up there because of how narrow that road is, I believe. And then,
Well, what can
like
we
you
do
said,
about
there's-
that? I mean, why, what can we do about that? I mean, we're going to use that field, we got to have someplace to park.
Has there been any issues with Eagles complaining about the parking?
No, I don't think so.
No, and I'm willing to go to the Eagles and make sure that they're okay with the
Okay.
parking there also, Mayor Wilson. And same for you, Commissioner Bowder. I have no problem going asking them, and I have no problem asking our parents
Okay.
and stuff.
I just thought that part of that parking lot could be used by that field. I didn't know. So that's why I'm
But
asking.
no, I'm more than willing to go to the Eagles and talk to them and make sure they have no problem with us parking, but I'd rather have their permission first before just doing
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think you'll find them very approachable. I do believe that overflow parking from Mamma Mia's is always in the Eagles, and it always works
Yeah.
out, because they have, I don't know how much parking for 200-300 vehicles there. I'm guessing, I don't have an exact count, and the functions that go on at the Eagles now are just bingo nights and one or two things.
But they don't go on when they're doing practice
Yeah,
there.
and so I think that you'll find them very approachable.
Yes,
You know,
and
park
I'm
down
pretty-
on the west side.
I know their membership real well,
Yeah.
and I don't see that being an issue at
Yeah,
all, but I still rather come to them first. I just don't.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't take anything for granted, and I think that's being rude if we did.
Yeah. And some of these things I think that we can address during our budget meeting that we have coming up in July, I believe. But is there anything that we can do to the Eagles field this year, or is it something that we have to?
Yeah, from listening to Mr. Hanson, I think the one thing that we could accomplish this year within our existing budget, which is minor in the recreation budget, is extending the south fence line. I think that's the area where it's prone to overthrows and the balls getting bad there and stuff like that. I think that could be done within the existing operations budget to help them out with that. Anything else as far as extending backstops and stuff like that would probably have to be presented to the commission during CIP for their consideration. But I think we could handle the south side fencing a little.
Okay.
We actually already, Brian Bailey, our park superintendent, actually already got a quote to do that, and it's in the
Oh,
neighborhood of $1,800. So we're amenable to do anything we can to accommodate as many folks as we can. It's just, a lot of it is CIP items that we have to piece together like we've talked about over there.
Well, you had two things that you wanted to be addressed more immediately, correct?
Yes.
That was one of them.
That was one of them, right? Or
Well,
Well,
for this
just
year,
re- just
one
re-
was granting the extra half hour for practice at Sportsfield before they started on a game night. Right now, they open a half hour. We were asking for a full hour instead of just a half hour for the teams to be able to warm up and stuff. So we were asking for that. And then also for the fee to be waived for Eagles Field for practice nights.
what is the fee for practice at 50?
$25 an hour.
$25 an hour.
And again, the fee reserves the field. It's free just to go out there and practice. But if you don't pay to reserve the field, just like if you don't pay to reserve a shelter, there could be somebody there when you get there. There could be a father and a son just playing on the infield, and they would have it's a public facility.
Sure.
So in order for the exclusivity to reserve it, just like a shelter, just like anywhere else, we do charge a $25 per hour fee, and then you have that field reserved for that time.
I would be, I understand your issue, Mr. Hanson. I would be against, I couldn't be in support of giving you exclusivity unless you pay for it. It's just like the farmer's market, Haymarket Square. They literally have to pay $25 a Saturday, and that reserves it for them. Because if you want to have a hot dog roast at a shelter, Walman Park, on a Sunday afternoon, if it's open, you can go up there, but if somebody comes in and says, hey, I've got this reserved at 2 o'clock, and they paid their $25, then you have to leave. And it's a public park, and I understand your program, it does great things for the youth, but I think we have to be fair for all, so that, I just wouldn't be comfortable in giving one group exclusivity. But it is open for reservations. And for the most part, I'm sure people do not reserve it. Probably some T-ball teams go out there, some kids go out there, and some, a bunch of people are there, and T-ball and some kids playing around. The field's big enough, but obviously when you talk American Legion baseball, you probably need, most of the field, and I would say that we probably need to reserve it.
How often do you practice a week?
Bruce, you want to go? My baseball coach for my junior teams here.
They were practicing tonight when I went by there.
We provided the park.
You gotta come up, Mr. Bruce. I like that jersey, that a throwback. You gotta customize.
We provided the park board a tentative schedule of practices that we plan on doing. And you are correct, up until the time that the youth league begins to practice ball, then that field is strictly restricted by who has it reserved. Which means that if I get on the field at 5 o'clock and someone from the youth league has it reserved at 6, that means I have to leave. Okay. And right now, the Eagles field is the only regulation-sized field that can accommodate the Legion baseball team because of the length of the bases, 90 feet, and because the pitching mound is 60 feet 6 inches. It's the only field we have in Leavenworth that accommodates that. Okay. And we discussed with them as far as 2 hours of practice is what I need for those young men, because 1 hour is just not enough time. And there was some discussion about that. And we did provide a schedule that we plan on using. And it mainly is between this year, our games are every third or fourth day. And we've asked for 1 practice day between the games. And so I have a schedule that we will abide by. 2 hours of practices, we want to be blocked off. That way we know we're going to have a place to practice in preparation for the next day's game or next games that we have scheduled. That's the reason why we need to have priority on the field to guarantee a place to practice.
Well, I'm very supportive, and I thank you all for what you do for the youth. And I would be in favor of reducing the fee, possibly cutting them in half. I can't speak for the whole commission, but like I said, you guys have been consistent and faithful with the youth, and you guys have expanded your team.
We have 18 boys who are playing this year. Last year we had 13.
Yeah, so I would be in support of reducing the cost.
I'm not in
I think
favor.
we need a study session on it.
I'm not in favor of it. We've gone over this before. We've gone over this every year since I've been on the commission, and I'm not in favor of it.
Mr. Dedeke, did you say you would be in favor of a study session on it?
Yes, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be combined in this.
I support Mr. Dedeke's proposal to have a study session. I know we had a study session last year. You have a lot of requests. There are 2 that fall into the immediate category. I think we need a little time to discuss it. I mean, I could ask you why you need an hour versus a half an hour at the sports field before the games, but I don't think I want to do that tonight. I think we could discuss it during a study session. I am very particularly organized sports and recreation activities. You know, and I know the commissioners support that. So I want a little time to think about it in terms of, and I know that, you know, what Commissioner Preisinger said about the policy we have, but I don't know, maybe this isn't an example or a case where we could make an exception, but I can't reach that conclusion tonight. I would like to have a study session.
Yeah.
So let me add one more thing.
Sure.
Every January, they have a scheduling conference up in Sabetha for the American Legion. Right. The number 1 issue that I got beat up on by everybody there was why can we not get on the field an hour prior to the game? A half hour is not enough time for my team to get ready. We're not going to come to Leavenworth and play ball.
How many game dates did you have last year?
Last year,
Yeah.
home games,
Yes.
we had, I believe, 5 home games last year, and that's what we have this year.
Well, that's good information. I mean, that's what we'll have to consider. I mean, that's what I think we'll be able to discuss during a study session.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good information. I don't think any of us up here knew that before you just stated that, but, so.
Well, I'll be adding one other thing. What really gets the teams excited is that they're already, the worker who opens the field is there at 5 o'clock. He opens the gate, goes in the gate, locks the gate behind him, and does his preparation for the game. The teams are out there waiting to get in and can't get in. And the preparation that the individual does on the field, well, there's no preparation for the field, because the field's already prepared for us. He does his in-house stuff, as far as, open up the concession stand, open up get the garbage can. I mean, it has nothing to do with the field. The field is already to be played upon.
Yeah, this will be something that we'll address during the study session.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Mr. Bruce. Thank you, Mr. Derrick.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr.
Do we have
President.
consensus for a study session?
Yes.
I'd like one.
All in favor?
Okay. So just to be clear, the study session that we're talking about are the policies. The time before the game that you're admitted.
Yes, sir.
The dedication or fees related to practicing or reserving sports field. But the capital items, we are reserving those for the CIP. The overhead
correct.
protection, the CIP.
The reserving was for the Eagles field.
Yes, reserving for the
field.
Eagles.
Not
Yeah.
sports field, Eagles,
Right.
The fee was.
Eagles field.
Okay, so Eagles practice reservation
Right.
and sports field admits before the game. Those are the two items for the study session.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, general items, University of St. Mary marketing class presentation.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'm excited to present this next item. In the 2018-2019 goal-setting session, a directive was given by the Commission to engage in partnerships that could benefit the overall appearance of the city. With that in mind, I had met with Sister Diane Steele in the fall of 2018 to talk about some potential projects and partnerships that we could undertake. After a few more meetings with leadership and faculty, a project was assigned to the strategic marketing class led by Bethany Stanley, Assistant Professor of Economics and Marketing. I met with these students before you 3 times in person, and we had a lot of correspondence over email. And what we centered on, and I'm not going to take any of their thunder, was the issue of trash and litter in Leavenworth, civic pride and community pride. So with that, they took it and ran. So they're going to present to you what they have, and you feel free to ask them questions. So I'll turn it over to the students.
Hello, Commissioners.
Hello.
Mr. Mayor. So as Mr. Kramer said, we are the strategic marketing class of the University of St. Mary. We're all senior marketing majors, so I'll just introduce myself. My name is Robert Tapia.
My name is Devin Harmon.
Sean Ellis. Ashton Finley. Brett Crowley. So since the beginning of the semester, we've really been working to increase the awareness of the issue of litter within the city of Leavenworth. We've identified the issue as a litter due to a lack of really civic pride within the community. People just don't understand the impact that litter can have on the community, not just the appearance, but also how detrimental it could be to the environment. So our marketing opportunity is that we can really change some minds here with these initiatives. So we've identified a number of initiatives we can take to target all demographics, from young to old. So for some of the younger ones, we've been working with the high school art teacher to work on trash cans that they can design, just to really instill that idea of, litter isn't okay. We have social media campaigns, we have dog bandanas, we've been working with the puppy shelter on Leavenworth, just a wide variety of things just to hit all the bases, So we're going to go over some of the artwork that we've came up with. Unfortunately, the artist Jasmine Cervantes couldn't be here with us today, but we look forward to showcasing what she's done for us. So Ssc Logo, we wanted something that we could plaster just about anywhere, litter-free LB, it rolls off the tongue very easily, it's not too long. This is something we could put on the, signs throughout the city. Mr. Kramer informed us we have 50 of those throughout the city, but people just don't notice them because it's just not something that is visually appealing enough. So we went with, the earth tones, really, we were going with blue originally, but we wanted to avoid associating with the school. So we went with, just some earth tones, green, tan.
So we go to the mic.
So we came up with
Once
some
a teacher,
ideas.
always
English teacher, sorry about that.
So we came up with some ideas to kind of really get the message across that we could put everywhere and we could help really establish the city pride. With just a few posters options that we came up with are like just little things like this to say there's no place for litter in Leavenworth, and next slide, please. And then just Leavenworth needs your help, put trash in its place. So just ways to really staple and really put the message into the city. And then just our last one right here, we need your help, so that way we can kind of put the pride into the city, so we can really establish the fact that it's not going to be one person, but it's going to be everybody. So we're going to need a team effort here. Next slide. And then, yeah, here's another one. Just do your part. So these are just all options. That way we can just keep getting the message across. You don't want to keep putting out the same one. So maybe you can, at different times of the year, maybe one year do this. Just it's a marketing option that can really work for a long-term effect. And then we kind of we went around and we looked for the littering signs that we have in Leavenworth, and they're actually really hard to find because, as you can see, they're boring. They're boring. You don't really notice them. So we came up with a potential option that can kind of bring some life to it. It's a little bit more animated, and it kind of gets the message across non-verbally, because you're not going to read a sign that just says no littering, but if you see somebody physically putting trash in, it could be a little bit easier to get the message across.
True confession, this is right in front of University of St. Mary's. None of us saw it for an entire year.
I never knew it was there. Some observation skills.
Well, everybody knows the speed limit. They always tell you what the speed limit was. So the finest are doing a good job.
All right, so some more marketing options that we came up with. This one's a little bit more visual, a little bit more on a large scale. So we wanted to get something that you can see, almost like a billboard that can, again, get the message across. So no, we weren't going with the fish option, but we're going with a method similar to that. So how it's open fish where you see the trash inside, we're thinking of like a big Leavenworth trash can, something that you're driving by, you can see that it has a trash in there. We put our litter-free LV logo on it and the hashtag, and it's just, again, it's another attention grabber that can help establish city pride. That's all I got.
All right, another idea that we had is in placing a 3-mile creek trail sign. We believe if we put this at all access points where trash cans are at, this will definitely draw the community people's attention. Wow. Top 5 reasons I litter. Top 5 reasons I litter. I as in community.
It's called the shaming option.
Oh yeah. I am a slob. I am lazy. Someone picks up after me. I like fines. I hate the planet. If people see these signs, it's definitely going to draw attention. And with social media being as big as it is in today's society, we believe this will create, people take pictures with these signs, it will create a buzz across the media, and it will get really big. It's a really cool sign that we came up with. I think it was awesome.
I like your idea on that, but it'd be destroyed the first day.
Nah, people gonna,
Maybe not.
It's gonna be interesting. People gonna like it. Yeah, something different, like non-traditional.
Accessibility of social media. Take a picture in front of it. That's cool.
Yeah, it definitely will get people's attention, so it's a start. I like that. Thank you.
Get in the minds of the litterers, right?
So another technique we were thinking about is the idea of this social media campaign. Basically, we want to start the social media movement with trash in Leavenworth, encouraging people to clean up around the city. Basically, like you can see, Devin and Fred here, they kind of already took the initiative. You just take the picture of where you've cleaned up and what you've done, and then post the hashtag with it, LitterFreeLV or LV Trash Challenge. Basically, how it would happen is that by using a hashtag, it kind of starts that buzz like Fred was talking about. The challenge could be advertised through the government, social media, and then newspaper, even blogged about. And then basically from there, it would take off from wherever you want it to go. We kind of thought about a two-phase approach with the help from Mr. Kramer. Phase 2 of the approach would be like a video. I don't know if you guys remember the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge that happened a few years back.
Yeah.
Kind of took off. So that's kind of what we had an idea with here. If the link will load, we kind of have a short clip of an example.
Not loaded. Okay, so visualize the star, which would be?
So basically, I took a video, cleaned up some trash, and then you just kind of introduce yourself and then nominate a few people, and then emphatically slam the trash into a can and kind of creates that like funness to it. Yeah, and then the nomination side of things, it kind of just creates that pride and then obligation to jump in and join the movement. So that's kind of what we were thinking with the social media campaign.
Well, for the idea of the dog bandanas, when you look on social media for the citizens of Leavenworth or for the Leavenworth in general, you would see a majority of the people there taking a picture with their animals. More likely their dog is what they would have. And so we decided it would be more beneficial for us if we team up with the Leavenworth County Humane Society and the Leavenworth Animal Welfare Society and ask them to help us pass around dog bandanas that display the hashtag LittleFreeLB and spread the word out, because first of all, no one who has a dog wants their dog to be eating trash off the side of the road. So it kind of brings about that idea of looking at the dog owners, pretty much. Like, do you want your dog to be eating trash off the side of the road? It kind of reminds them, hey, pick up your trash, pretty much, and keep Leavenworth clean, keep your pets safe, and whatnot. Our recommended colors we decided would be the forest green bandana and the athletic gold, as we thought they would be different from the typical red or black bandanas. And we just thought they would they looked better, to be honest. And we quoted, it would be, as a starting point, we decided 300 bandanas for $358 would be prudent for a startup. And we can increase the number depending on how many dogs are adopted from each shelter. For what we decided with the Humane Societies and the Animal Welfare Society, we asked that for every dog that is adopted from those buildings, they would be able to get a hashtag LittleFreeLB bandana and be able to spread the word through it.
On your 300 bandanas, 150 green, 150 gold, or were you saying pick a
No,
color?
it could be a combination, and the gold is more this color. It's not showing up very well. It actually shows up
It's
really
kind
good
of
on
darker,
my
actually.
Yeah,
Yes, it shows up better, yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to incorporate the seal colors. If you look at the seal colors,
Okay.
see the feel, yeah.
Sure, okay, thank you.
That's good.
And they, so it says keep Leavenworth litter-free, so it keeps pounded into somebody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so just in our the tool belt of like the social media campaign, this would be a gift that we could do using a sign of Leavenworth County if that's attainable. If not, we could definitely draw out something on the sidewalk or something. We would cover it in trash, and then we would have students from either, the university or the high school, elementary school, anyone could do this, and we would have them remove that trash, and it would just show the progression of the issue that Leavenworth is facing, which is the litter and how it should be. And this would be used using a drone, which the university has access to, and I'm sure the city has access to a drone.
We do.
So we have a link, but we're having technical difficulties, so
Okay.
apologize for that.
Who's going to be Jasmine today?
This was going to be Jasmine, but I can cover this. So we've been working with the high school art teacher as well. She's very excited to implement this into her lesson plan. This would be, we would take trash cans, and we would have the students design it to really, reflect on, why litter is bad, why the city should not be filled with litter. And we have some strategically placed locations that we believe, we should beta test first. This would really just, really instill that sense of pride and cleanliness, in the middle, high school age range.
But you've recommended some locations for the beta test downtown?
So they came up with 2 beta test locations, as well as, because they're trash cans, they're movable. So, Mr. Kramer suggested that we move them to the city festival and other highlighting events. And, let's be honest, you take a picture with your trash can. I mean, the kids will do it all the time. It'll be like, we designed this trash can. Let's, Mom, take a picture. I mean.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate you having us, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
So I wanted to take this picture so that Sister Diane believes me. You don't want, unless you guys want to come talk to Sister Diane for me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, because I'm not interested in doing it. Smile, yeah, I don't want to be in trouble, because I'm already.
You want the mayor to get up there with the group?
Oh, yeah. Would you?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, yeah, because my sister
Yeah.
Diane, I don't want to. I'm only an assistant professor, I'd like to get 10%. Just so everybody knows, these are all seniors, and this is their final project. As of right now, they have completed their final strategic marketing. This was their final. They actually pulled it off, and thus they will be graduating.
When is graduation?
Next week. Yes. They get the
Congratulations.
Yeah, they get the hoodie tomorrow, so they actually will all be allowed to get hoods. Hold on 1 second. And I'm gonna allow you guys all to get hoods, so I'll put them on you tomorrow. All right.
That's great.
Good job.
Tell us each where you're from. Each student, where are you from?
I'm a military brat, so just about everywhere. My dad retired in Leavenworth, so, stayed in this general area.
Sean?
I'm from Leavenworth too.
Okay.
Oh, I'm actually from Baker, Linwood, Kansas, actually.
Okay.
I'm from Kansas City, Kansas.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Did you come here to play football or? Did you?
Thank you.
What position?
Right, and so they're teachers from the farthest, yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Connecticut. So actually, you can hear that.
I heard a little bit. I want to thank you for what you've done.
It's awesome.
I like the 5 points why you litter. I think you can easily extend to 10. Unfortunately, we have a whole bunch of slop cans in this town that are drive through the town, throw the breakfast out the window, just anything out the window. It's unbelievable. And somehow anything that we can do, short of Gestapo tactics, we have to do it. And shaming people and informing people, I think is the way to go. We have to do it, and I appreciate what you've done. I think it's an outstanding idea, and I hope that we can take all those ideas and go forward. I think you guys, all of you,
If you need a reference.
did a great job.
I appreciate you thinking outside.
Oh, there's my family.
I appreciate all the students and the professor thinking outside the box a little bit, or outside the trash can or whatever, but also trying to make it fun, which I think will be
Yep, so there's
helpful
the video.
for this effort. Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
I had to get some help.
1 second.
Obviously, at the University of St. Mary's, yeah. Which we discovered didn't have enough trash cans either, by the way, so we'll be having that conversation with Sister. Yeah.
Good.
You got much litter up there?
Just text smart so you guys stay in the loop and you know what's coming out. Obviously, the iPhone XR came out not too long ago.
We're buying the iPhone?
No, all YouTube videos start off with an advertisement, so.
Especially if it's a Mac, right? Yeah. Well, you know what, maybe then we can just have Mr. Kramer send the link to you guys. It's rather amusing to watch the students throw trash. And by the way, he's a baseball player, and you can see the power that trash goes in. Never mind, it doesn't seem to be working, but thank you for trying.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to do this.
Great job.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck at graduation.
So at this time, entertain a motion.
No motion, just presentation on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. All right, so next item on the agenda, Consider off-premise CMB license for Stargas 788 Spruce Street.
Turn this over to our city clerk, Carla Williamson.
Mayor and city commissioners, this is a request for a 2019 off-premise cereal malt beverage license for Star Gas, which is located at 788 Spruce Street. They didn't previously have a CMB license, so this would be a new license for this location. And so that is being this evening to approve that cereal malt beverage license.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the 2019 off-premise cereal malt beverage license for Sign Nama LLC, 788 Spruce Street in Leavenworth.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0.
Quick point, I don't know if any of you saw it, Budweiser brought their Clydesdales into Topeka a couple last week. They can have a marketing campaign saying, they didn't say welcome to the 21st century, but welcome to 5% beer or 6% beer or whatever. So they had the wagon and everything. And go to the grocery stores.
Cereal malt beverage.
Cereal malt beverage, I'm sorry. You go into the grocery stores, Walmart set out a whole section. Aldi's even is, so it's, I don't know how it's.
Yeah, and they're pushing that 3-2, trying to
Trying
to get rid of it.
Yeah, 'cause they're not gonna make- if you have some, I'd hold on to, because I think 10 years will be a collector's item. I don't think any other states require it.
Right up there with Billy Bear, right?
Yeah, right there with Billy Bear, yeah. Small point, thank you.
Next item on the agenda, extend review deadline for dangerous structure at 202 Potawatomi.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, we had to bring this back before you. This property, 202 Potawatomi, has been before you a few times. The last time we indicated that there was up for a state grant, a preservation grant, which we thought would be awarded by now, which is why the commission set today as the day to review it. However, the State Historic Preservation Office has indicated that the grant recipients are not actually going to be announced until early May, but we did indicate in the minutes and on the record that we'd bring it back the 23rd. So we just asked that you make a motion to continue item for discussion on May 14th. So hopefully at that point, we'll have determination from the state.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. Entertain a motion.
I move to continue the item, which is review unsafe and dangerous structures, 202 Potawatomi Street, for discussion to May 14th, 2019.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, mayor's appointment. I move to recommend the following appointment: Building Code Board of Appeals, reappoint Jim Powell to a term ending May 1st, 2024. Electrical Board of Appeals, appoint Craig Smitling to a term ending May 1st, 2024. Library Board, reappoint Lisa Weekly to a term ending April 30th, 2023. Appoint Irene N. Spiller to a term ending April 30th, 2023. Mechanical Board of Appeals, appoint Carl Kreutzer to a term ending May 1st, 2024. And Plumbing Board of Appeals, appoint Michael McCann to a term ending May 1st, 2024.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Ballard.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, adopt city commission goals.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, the City Commission held its annual goal setting session on Wednesday, April 10th. The goals, as I remark every year, are not designed as an exhaustive list of efforts to be undertaken by city staff over the next year, but instead represent guidance to staff on allocating resources to big picture commission priorities. I've highlighted the changes in each section. I'll go through them briefly. Under economic development, we removed the lobby for the CMOP to stay in Leavenworth and the historic marker program, which was complete. We modified what I'm calling the Veteropreneurs item to add proactive elements. The new one reads, to promote Leavenworth as a destination for veteropreneurs, transitioning service members and military retirees through informational presentations, hiring events, and expanding partnerships. Those last three items meant to indicate a proactive approach as we move forward into the next year. We also added two that had consensus of the commission, one being to explore ways to make aesthetic improvements in the downtown. expanded upon slightly more in the document, explore efforts to improve aesthetic appearance of the downtown, including lawn and landscaping, litter, decorative elements, etc. I included decorative, so it could include anything from art, murals, to also holiday or Christmas decorations, which I know the commission had brought up in the session. And then finally, in economic development, added a little more, we drilled into the business and technology park a little more, pursuing all avenues to showcase, market, and draw interest to bring development to the business and technology park. Efforts to include, but not limited to, engaging in third-party experts, partnering with business development organizations, proactively recruiting and reaching out to individual industries under economic development. The next item, community improvement. We modified the rental property program item given the consensus of the commission, and modified to include the implementation and collecting data of the rental property program. And we also added to determine the options for chronic code violating properties to put a little more teeth into that that item. Pull up something here. Make sure I'm looking at the right one. Okay, next we had public safety. We had no changes. And then outreach and transparency. We removed the 4 different financial policies, which are all ready to be brought to the commission for review. I just have to get them on study sessions. Those are good place fillers, as we have 1 or 2 items that typically sometimes drop off a week before a study session, but we'll get those done this summer, reviewing those 4 financial policies. And we added reviewing and recommending changes to the purchasing policy, specifically areas related to bidding on city projects, making it easier for businesses to do work with the city. One item that I did not include in your packet, but I think a couple of commissioners had asked about, and I would make a change from the floor, and if you're okay with it, just add it to the goals for approval, would be to take all steps necessary to initiate, create, and adopt the 2030 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, including working to ensure a collaborative and inclusive process seeking the greatest amount of input possible. So that highlights, we're certainly going to be working on the 2030 comp plan, but that puts it on the record. It provides you with the updates that I provide, and then it's the document of record for the citizens, as that's going to occupy a lot of our effort over the next 12 to 18 months.
There's no comments. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adopt the city commission goals as presented.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda.
Okay. After review of the claims, I move that the claims for April 6, 2019 through April 19, 2019 be approved in the amount of $902,193.95. Net amount for payroll number 8, effective April 12, 2019, in the amount of $317,036.76, with no fire and police pension.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 5-0. Is there any comments among the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Preisinger?
I have nothing, sir.
No, sir.
No, Mr. Dedekey.
I don't.
I would like to propose that after our meeting last week and the discussions that we've had over the 20-some meetings that we've had talking about stormwater, that I don't see any real need to study it anymore. I think that the multifamily apartment dwellings, residents, that amount could be cut in half, and I would propose that. And because, I mean, we're under a time crunch somewhat, and anyway, I would propose that. I would like to propose that. And I don't know if that's in the form of a motion. Can I do that?
You could ask for a consensus.
Okay.
At the study session, we had a consensus to relook at that. The only thing you could do, consensus aren't binding, so you could, if you were asking to change the consensus, you could ask for a consensus for a new consensus. I know that sounds confusing, But I have a direction from the commission right now, so I would need a consensus to change that direction.
Quick
Get a
question.
consensus to add that to our previous consensus.
That was going to be part of it anyway, because we were looking
That's
at
already
everything.
part of it. Yeah,
Was
that
that
was
a
already
joke?
part of
I
it.
think yeah, so I would need a new consensus if the direction was going to change.
So my question is, when do we have to have this information into the county in order for the changes to take effect?
So I think what Commissioner Bowder was alluding to is you do have to have this information to the county by August. So, and it's a fairly complex property by property issue. So if it was the process whereby we were going to examine and then hold public meetings, we would have to adopt a fairly aggressive timeline to get that implemented for 2020. But it could be done, but it would be fairly aggressive.
I would not want to have another study session. I
Well-
think if we just decide on this one thing, that's all we need to do.
I don't agree. I think
We've
there's other.
studied it. Well, how much more can we study it?
I just think we came up with a consensus and we need to find, we'll consider we are gonna consider what you've proposed and talked about.
That's already part of it though. But what else are you gonna study?
I don't know. I don't want to show my, I'm not sure, but I thought we did have a consensus when we finished our meeting last Tuesday, and I'm comfortable moving forward with. I don't think it's going to be a long study session, but I just think we need to do it deliberately, and it needs to be soon.
And I would be in favor of moving forward with the multifamily, but I would definitely love to have the
I think we could have another meeting later.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would be in
feel
favor
like
of
we
meeting
need
later,
to move forward
but
with
moving
this.
forward with the multifamily, so that way
And
we
study
can
the
meet that
other
timeline.
later. I just don't feel like we need to do that right now.
You mean
with
you
all the
want to
other
make
stuff.
the change tonight?
I'm
Multifamily?
not in favor.
I'm not either.
I'm not in favor of making
Then
a
we're-
change tonight on that.
For the
I mean,
multifamily?
I'm pretty supportive of it. I just don't want to make it tonight.
So you want to look at it all at once?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And that could be what we end up agreeing to and then saying later on, we're going to look at something more differently, but I would just like to stick with the plan with respect to this
So you
subject.
and I will get together and make a date.
We're not in consensus yet, I think it's 2 and 2, and I think I may be the swing vote. Or swing consensus person. I'm in favor of, let's look at the multifamily. The purpose of our meeting a couple weeks ago is to review, here's where we are, here's what we obtained $1.285 million, whatever the number was, and we saw some, I don't want to say a discrepancy, but somewhat of a windfall, if you will, in the multifamily. We had estimated 900 and some multifamily units, and I think it came in at 3,700 units, so times $84 versus times 3,700 versus times 900. And I think that needs reviewing. The commercial and the industrial, I think we reviewed that ad infinitum, ad nauseum, over the last year and a half. We reviewed everything. We talked about impervious land area. We talked about all different options, frontage, impervious, and we as a commission unanimously came up with where we were. And are we going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time? Absolutely not. And if we change it, someone else's, I don't want to say ox is going to get gored, but I mean, it's something that we deliberately came up with. We put great thought in it. We worked out the plan, and I think that it's a good plan. There was no windfalls involved, no surprises. Basically, it's exactly what we thought it was going to be, which we agreed to. The only thing that we received, he used the term windfall, but it was on the multifamily. I think we looked at that. As for commercial and industrial, I'm very satisfied with the results. It's basically exactly what we predicted it would be and what we all agreed to. I don't see any reason to relook that. So I'm in favor of, I don't know if Commissioner Bowder's consensus or request is that we just remove the industrial and commercial, but look at the multifamily. I'm in favor of that. I don't know where, and you said no. I know Commissioner Dedeke said no, and
Yeah, I want to move forward with the multifamily, but I would like to look at it, look at the structure again. But I want to make sure that we're meeting that deadline. I don't want to postpone it and then the multifamily end up, we don't make those changes.
You could run them parallel.
Yeah.
Is that you'd have a multifamily discussion and make a determination, and then have a larger discussion on the other stuff. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm in favor of.
Later,
Yeah, that's what I'm in favor of.
later after we evaluate.
I still, and I know I'm a little bit of a voice in the wilderness here.
So we can get
I think that we can make the decision on the multifamily very quickly. I think we probably almost came to consensus where we should be on that last week. As for the commercial industrial, I don't want to relitigate it, relook it, anything else. We're where we are, and we're satisfied with that. We looked at all the other options. There are going to be people that are going to come forward and say, I don't like that, you should do it this way. Well, we had those same discussions a year and a half ago. In fact, if you look at the last meeting before we approved it, I think one of the gentlemen that spoke against it last week came in at the last meeting last year before we put it into effect. It basically had the same arguments. You got to look at impervious. And at that point, we said, we looked through all that. This is the way we're going. There were no surprises there. We got what we planned. And the only surprise is the multifamily, and I think we should look at that. That's the only thing I think merits relooking.
So I'm going to lean on the city attorney to make sure. I think I have two separate and not exclusive. That there is a consensus to separate and look in immediate fashion at multifamily, and I have that from Mayor Wilson, Commissioner Bowder, and Commissioner Preisinger, and I also have a consensus to have a larger discussion on the whole system, separate from that, from Mayor Wilson, Commissioner Griswold, and Commissioner Dedeke. That's what I heard.
Yep.
Yeah, on the multi-family dwellings, I mean,
that's the first one. I got the consensus on that.
Right.
On the second one,
The larger discussion.
Second one is commercial industrial.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. Yes.
So three say that, so yeah.
So you'll see a multifamily discussion quickly.
Yes.
And then we're working on some calculations on, we're about 80% of being able to calculate all the impermeable data by parcel in the city. Once we added the second GIS tuck, we're still working on that.
Yeah, and that's good. And and not to reinvent the wheel, because I know that there was a lot of doing. Well, but he's saying that because I understand in terms of the initial, I just don't think the data has been, even in terms of a pro forma, in terms of what Mr. Urban was suggesting. Now, because we haven't really seen the numbers on that. And I'm just saying if what he says is, could come to pass, and it was fairer, and we still generated the same amount of revenue, and it was a fairer structure, then I think we need to take a look at it. But, I mean, that's...
So I don't have if you're talking about a separate idea with a framework, I don't have that to run numbers. So a commissioner would have to submit that to me if you wanted another model reviewed and vetted.
I'm not necessarily wanting another model reviewed and vetted this year, but I do have some ideas maybe that we could take a look at for another course of action that could possibly be a little bit fairer to our citizens across the board in the three categories. Okay. I am not hung up, I'm not going to fall on my sword to have that done this year, but I think that would be something that I would like to look at next year. And I'll put together a pro forma on it because I don't have the data, but I don't want to hold up what we need to do this year with respect to what we've talked about with the multifamily dwelling aspects, and we are under some crunch as far as the time to get this in.
And we could certainly also provide our pro forma data on any models that you had.
On the first consensus item is the multifamily.
Yes.
Second consensus item, is it commercial industrial only, or are we opening up the whole housing thing?
I believe everything was on the table for that one.
So this commission, the only time we put our foot down is when we raised the other one. So that's, yeah, I think it's wrong, but we have a consensus, let's discuss it.
Well, tonight's not tonight.
No, I know that. I know that.
Okay, I think I'm clear.
Did you have any?
I had one. I just wanted to remind the public and all those interested, there's a public meeting Thursday night from 4 to 6 at the Service Center about the Thornton Street project. So I think we'll we've notified all the neighbors door to door, but also anybody on the community wide who would like to come out to that public meeting. We'll be out there from 4 to 6 this Thursday, April 25th at the Service Center.
Okay. 4 to 6?
Yes.
Did you have any updates on 10th Street?
Not that I'll share tonight.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, sir. There's no meeting this upcoming Tuesday?
The fifth Tuesday, yeah.
Yep, and also, we have some positions available, vacancy on the board, Community Development Advisory Board, Leavenworth Preservation Commission, and Sister City Advisory Board. So if you all know anyone, or anyone from the public that's interested in joining the board, please let the City Commission know.
We'll put those on social media too.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it. There's no other comments among the commissioners? I'll move to the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned. What a meeting.